Welcome back to Wisdom, Whiskey, and Wit, where leadership is distilled, wisdom is shared, and stories are worth savoring. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome a guest whose reputation precedes the boardroom, stadiums, and now this mic. Dr. Dan Kaufmann has spent over 20 years driving revenue on both sides of the sponsorship and the ticketing table. From scrappy ticket sales from the Pensacola Ice Pilots to major league partnerships with the New York Jets, New Orleans Saints, and the Pelicans. Dan has engineered strategies that don't just sell, they solve. He's a Fulbright scholar, a doctor of business administration, and the current chief business officer at Order Technology, where he's redefining how payments and sponsorship work in sports entertainment. His work has led to a 525% revenue spike, a global first partnership for the Saints, and a signature philosophy that says, if you can't measure it, don't sell it. Today, we're pouring a bold glass of Jack Daniel's Bonded, because this episode is all about high-proof results, strong relationships, and leadership that lasts. Dr. Dan, welcome to Wisdom, Whiskey, and Wit. So it's been months now, and I finally got Dr. Dan Kaufmann on the podcast. He's been blowing me off, not answering my text messages, not responding to my emails, but I finally got him down. And here he is. Dan,
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm good. I did not blow off. Let's make this serious. I did not blow off your text messages. I wanted to make sure that timing was right, but I'm excited. You're one of my first podcasts I'm doing. I'm excited because of our relationship in vertical motion. I did not blow you off. For everyone here watching this, I did not blow them off. For the record, that is not who I am. So
no, you didn't. You didn't. No, I get that. No, we've both been super busy. A lot of things got to line up. I do thank you from the bottom of my heart being your first podcast of the year. So let's. Where'd this all begin, Dan? You weren't a doctor at first. You know, you were a young lad. Where did it all start, and how did we get here?
Life's a journey, and today where I'm at to where I started, if you had told me what I was doing, I'd be like, there's no way. Raised in Scottsdale, Arizona, went to high school out there, Chaparral High School, go Firebirds. Don't know why I said that, but, home of Paul Konerko and a bunch of other famous basketball and football people out of Scottsdale, out of Chaparral. And then I got a football scholarship to go to Hamilton College in upstate New York. It was a grand opportunity. Played football for a few years there. Grades weren't doing well, but again, I was concentrating more on that, and I got my grades better. And, one of my goals was when I was at Hamilton was to be a lawyer. And I really was like, I did multiple internships with a few judges, the district attorney's office up in Oneida County in upstate New York. I thought I was going to do it. I thought I was going to be like, a person for the people. I just enjoyed the law because I loved how things worked. At Hamilton College, I double majored in communication studies with a focus in anthropology, communication study of people. And then my second major was in government. And I thought that's what I wanted to be. And my first job after Hamilton was I was a legal assistant out in Los Angeles for a firm, major firm. It's now dissolved, but it was a firm. I learned a lot of unique things about business law, about representing corporate clients, representing major things. In fact, one of the movies had a customer that was in a movie. I can't mention that, and we were on the business side. And so essentially what I saw, though, in my year and a half I was there and change, people weren't happy at their job. They're making a lot of money. I mean, they were making a lot of money. They're corporate lawyers. They're making, hundreds of thousands of dollars, possibly in some figures a year, but they weren't happy. And they were in now my age, around their 30s, 40s area. And I found out, I wanted to do something that I loved. And what I loved was sports. And this is in the mid 2000s. And so I left the firm and actually backpacked through 32 different countries, I think. Don't hold me to that podcast, but with a couple of my friends. And
yeah,
I saw the world, and I saw even more of the world. And it's been very fun because I've been over to 50 countries, and I only have about 4 states left in the United States that I haven't seen. I've seen a lot. So after I backpacked through Europe, it was awesome, amazing. It's my favorite city. One of the most underrated cities I've ever been to, but I've seen almost every country, at least in Western Europe, and it's been fun. I would love to see Scandinavia next is my next area. I went back to my hometown in Scottsdale, Arizona, went to this company called workinsports.com, and this is before like sports became, an industry, a true industry of, people were getting majors with degrees in sports management. And I walked in, I'm like, hey, I'm Dan. I like to get into sports. How do you do that? And like, well, you're probably gonna have to get into ticket sales. And I'm like, okay. And, I'm like, I got to do what I got to do. So I actually, and this is just a thought, just so anyone looking to try to get a job, is how can you be a face in the crowd is what I call. So what I actually did is I FedExed every pro team and every minor league team at the time in sports. So that's including at that time, I even MLS, MLB, NHL, NBA, NFL, soccer, like lower level, baseball lower level, and hockey lower level. So even the AHL, ECH. I got 2 responses back, which was cool. And one was a team in California that I could have gone to, and another one was in Pensacola, Florida. And I'm like, cool. And so I actually chose to go Pensacola with at that time, the Pensacola Ice Pilots. They were a double affiliate of the ECHL for the Toronto Maple Leafs and then New York Islanders. The team folded and they became the Pensacola Ice Flyers of the Southern Professional Hockey League. But that was a few years later. And then after that, I applied and networked, and I actually got a job as a customer service rep for a few months for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then became a sales rep of selling season tickets, groups, suites. I was there for 4 seasons. And at that time I went, and it was fun though. Again, and this is what we'll talk about more about education and like how you apply education from the classroom to practicality is how you take those skills and apply it. And so I actually got an MBA and an MS in marketing at University of Tampa while I was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And from Hamilton, because of the liberal arts college, I never took any business courses because there weren't typical business courses at these liberal arts colleges. So I actually learned how to read, write, and talk at Hamilton and actually learned business and apply it while I was working for the Buccaneers. So it was really fun taking that part. And then in around 2010, I got an opportunity to go to Learfield. And Learfield now is one of the major multimedia rights holders for a bunch of collegiate universities all across the United States. I was at University of Toledo for 2 years and then Wisconsin for 3. And then I got an opportunity a lifetime to go to the New York Jets. And it was like the Godfather. It was an offer I couldn't refuse. And I loved Wisconsin. I met my future wife in Wisconsin. Love Wisconsin. I actually did very well in Wisconsin, but my goal was to get into the NFL and really sell sponsorship. And I did that selling tickets, but then I sold sponsorships for 7 years with the New York Jets, and then an opportunity to lead sales and strategy for the New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, and a lot of different other opportunities in the Benson family. I did that for about a couple of years, and then opportunity that left. And then now run my own consulting, and I work as the chief business officer for Order Technologies currently, but I also work with other teams, other brands who want to get in sponsorship or revenue, go to market strategy, building out their customer profiles, and really honestly help them grow revenue and marketing and sales. So I work with teams, brands, and then also I coach a bunch of up and comers who want to get and learn sponsorship, and then a bunch of executives in the sports and entertainment industry. So that's kind of where I'm at as of today, 2020.
That's true. So I believe I sent you a gift. Did you not? You should have got a bottle of Jack
I
Daniel's
did.
Bonded.
I'll tell you because
All right.
it's all about wisdom, whiskey, and wit. And I'm a Jack
Yeah.
Daniels person. So again, I thank you on this bottle. So I appreciate that.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
I've already cracked already and made my first drink. So I
This guy.
apologize. Hey, always be prepared. And that's honestly what I was doing. So, but no.
I did tell you to be prepared. He
Always.
started early. Yeah. Do you know why it's called Bonded?
I have no
No.
idea. This is where I'm going to be very quiet
No.
because all I like to do is
No.
just
So there was a
yeah. Go ahead.
drink.
No, I always order a regular Jack
like
Daniels.
19 or an 18.
This is special. Like, this is
97.
so go ahead. Tell me about this bottle, man.
Yeah. No, it's like this stuff in 1897, they passed a law so that there was a lot of trash whiskey going around and stuff like this. So, it had to be bonded. It had to be done in the same building and corked together. It couldn't be mixes and stuff like that. And so it's an actual law on the books for whiskey and how it's made. And so that's why it's called bonded and stuff. And so Jack Daniels was doing it actually before the law came into effect, but it's like a throwback for them throwing it back all the way. And it came out in like 2022. This Bonded did this kind of thing, and so they've won some awards and stuff like that with this. So yeah, I'm gonna have a taste since you've already started.
No, again, my bad. I'm already, just, but it's all good.
You're an overachiever, man. You've always been that way.
Stop.
Always an overachiever. I'm just messing with you. So you told us what like drew you into sports and stuff like that, and you worked nearly in every level of the industry, right? From the Pelican Ice to the Pelican Ice Pilots and NFL franchise. What lessons from those early roles shaped your leadership today?
Oh man, I thought about this question, and I really did. And it's been very interesting though. This is for anyone at all, from any leader you have, anyone, and it could be a bad leader in your perspective or a fantastic leader. You can always learn something from anyone. And I really mean this though. Is I took a lot of my great leaders, I extrapolated, took out all their best qualities. And I'm like, how can I apply that to myself? Then I took all the other leaders I didn't think that were in my purview good leaders. I said, I'm never going to do that again. So I discerned all of the stuff, all the qualities. I'm like, I don't believe in that. So out of the last, 20 plus years of me doing this, I've taken a lot of good and I've taken a lot of bad and I've applied it. And I think the best way I've learned this of like one of the best leadership qualities, no matter what, you can be a leader, even if you're not the title, right? You can be a leader anytime and this is the thing I think is very imperative, is get other people's opinions, get people in the process, because you might have a lot of information on your field, on your area, but other people have different experiences and backgrounds that can apply to that and maybe help you in your decision-making process, but then they feel more involved in the decision. So I would say like those have been the areas of really I've been focusing on, even when I'm coaching other people, when I'm talking with other people, when I'm saying this is like, don't be the smartest person in the room, like kind of be quiet and ask questions and hear from all different stakeholders and then make a decision. So I think that's been the biggest quality I think of I've seen of like what differentiates bad to good leaders from my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree. Listening is a learned skill. Sometimes people listen to respond and not listen to actually listen to what the person is saying. So yeah, that totally makes sense. So I see in the back.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
And another thing I would just say is for leaders, if you really want to, this is a skill that I've actually really done here, and I've taught this, is have anyone who reports into you or anyone at all on your team or other stakeholders, is have them come to them with a problem, but then like have them also with a problem. They come to you. Don't say, hey, like let's say with you, Starsky, I have a problem with this, and expect you to reply. I like to do this area, and it's from Dan Martell, and it's been applied as the 1-3-1 method, where here's the problem, here's some 2 or 3 solutions of what I believe in, but this is what I think. And then over time, then they then also less and less of time they will come back to you, because all of a sudden it's like, here's the problem, here's what I think, and then I'm like, oh, cool, you're thinking critically, and that's empowering your people. That's just another little skill set I would add in for everyone else here.
No, definitely. I think that's key to development with people. I also use kind of a similar technique when pitching stuff to people, my superiors and stuff like that, or my bosses, is, when you're coming up with a problem, always come with a solution, right? And that's kind of the reverse of it, and be like, hey, here's 3 things, right? We can continue doing what we're doing. We can do this, which I think is like the most optimal, or we can have this big shiny thing over here, which is really expensive that you're probably going to say no to anyways, but I'm trying to give you some choices, right? And so usually you can lead them back to the decision in which you want them to as a subordinate to get them to get to where you want to be. So yeah, it's pretty much the same thing, but yeah.
Yeah, potato. I mean, great example.
Yeah. No, I agree. So you've been doing all this stuff in the NFL and like all these teams. What internationally are you doing? are you getting ready to do something internationally, or what you got
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah. So no, it's cool. I think right now, no matter what, especially for anyone here in sports and entertainment, just in general, I'll kind of give you a synopsis of what's happening is, you know, brands, teams outside of the United States and Canada are trying to get
Yeah.
into and grow their fan base. If you saw with F1, especially like with their
Mhm.
show Drive to Survive, that was really the catalyst. So you're starting to see not only that with soccer teams, with Formula One teams, they're trying to get into the area, and you're seeing the fan base grow, especially with soccer too as well. So, but also as well, with the international program, when I was with the Jets, they're in London, they're now in Ireland. I helped with the Pelicans grow their partnerships into Australia and New Zealand, did one of the first
Okay.
partnerships. Yeah, it was cool because I think that's an untapped market. And I think Australians and New Zealand's people, Oceania, they love basketball, they love American football, they love soccer. So I think that's been fun. I also see other like teams are going like, especially the international plans of rights programs of like what they're doing. But then also like with order, like, we're in United States and Canada, but now like we're now grow our presence overseas in, Oceania and also Europe. So I think no matter what those sport, and because of technology, because of media rights, because people can access content not only through their television, their screen, their phone, OTT, et cetera, over the top. I think now you're seeing that more fans are watching sports internationally. And then obviously with US sports, they're now watching it internationally based on what time zone they're in. So for example, NBA, that game might be at night. It's early in the morning than Asia. So it's just stuff like that. I think the growth of sport and entertainment is happening. I mean, you're seeing that with theme parks. You're seeing that with not just sports, but just everything in general, though.
No, yeah, no, I agree because what, like, they just came out with a movie for Formula One, like Apple is, I think, or whatever.
Yep.
Brad Pitt's in it, so
I think they also even announced a sequel already, just because of what's happened
yeah,
already. Because yeah, so like again, even with that example, right? For everyone to understand, like why is that important? Is you take a top A-list movie star, Brad Pitt, and then you actually incorporate into all the other teams because they were a fictitious team. But you see all the other real drivers, all the real courses, everything from that experience of like what actually is going on. Now, granted, it's a story, but it's authenticated through quote unquote the IP of the players, IP of the teams,
yeah,
IP of the tracks. So you're now actually engaging in that. I think that's why it's been a very positive area. And I think over time, I think more people are going to Formula One. I think they will be especially start from Drive to Survive. But I think this movie as well.
yeah. Do you think more people will go to Formula One than, like? Do you think it'll be bigger than NASCAR in the United States, or in your opinion?
I think they're going to be head to head right now. I,
Yeah,
I I think NASCAR is doing the same thing now. Again, so you have to look at the competitive analysis. Can't really comment, but I mean, from a global growth, you're going to have to look at just the numbers. F1's going to be bigger than NASCAR.
yeah,
Again, I know it's not like a direct answer. I think though,
yeah. No, I
global,
agree.
you got races in Abu Dhabi, you got races in UK. Especially in the NASCAR, you have in Mexico and US. I think they have in Canada now, but again, you have to look global.
Yeah, no, global growth is everywhere. You can see it in anything that's going on now. Talking about strategy and stuff, when you're at the Saints and the Pelicans, you revamped the sponsorship, sales, and strategy to help the team its first. Can you walk us through your vision with that? Like how did that happen? Because I know you're a really straight shooter and you're not really political. So like how did you make all that happen?
Well, I'm going to take it back to where
Okay,
I'll take it back to even a better story of how my thought
okay,
process goes. And
okay.
this is way before ChatGPT. This is way before any of this stuff. So this is around 2011, 12 when I was in Wisconsin. So one thing that anything at all, especially in anything in revenue generating and go to market, you have to figure out there are four ways of classifications of human beings. There's demographics. So again, all, you know, based on age, sex, race, gender, household income, etc. Then there's psychographics. How did you feel? What are your thoughts? So that's like on a post event survey. Did you have a great experience? Then there's geography, which we just kind of allude to in our last question, is like, where are your fans? And there's buyer behavior. So it's like behavioral. So when I was in Wisconsin, I looked at Oh, this is why I was working for the Wisconsin Badgers, Learfield Sports Badger Sports Properties. One of the things that I did, this is before I got my doctorate, so this is pre a lot of things, but this is how I think, is I'm like, so I looked at in Wisconsin, what are the major economic drivers for Wisconsin? So, I researched it and found out, which makes sense when I say this, behind California and New York. Oh, no, excuse me, California. It goes California, Wisconsin, then New York is the highest in dairy production. You got to think about cheeseheads, right? You got to think about all this. You know what I mean? So the thing that I looked at was just thinking critically. So again, this is how I can help everyone here listen to this. Is I'm like, okay, here's the dairy industry. What is it? And so I actually did the whole mapping out of the supply chain from farm to fork of milk and cheese production, because that's what's produced in Wisconsin. Because I made a assumption that Wisconsin Badger fans work in the dairy industry. I mean, it's a pretty good assumption there. Not just people who live in Milwaukee, Madison, but like the rest of the state, it's a lot of farmland, right? Well, I actually went to the World Dairy Expo, which was in Madison. It's a big convention for all dairy farmers. She interviewed, or take at that time, about 5 to 10. Again, I can't remember. It's been 15 years, but let's just say 7. And I asked them, like, what are your biggest problems? Tell me about you as a dairy farmer. And I found out there's all classifications of dairy farmers, from less than 20 to 20 to 50, 50 to 100 cows, and 100 to 500. And then they have these super farms of like 1,000 cows plus. And even there's more. I mean, it's huge. Actually, I mapped out every aspect. So then I'm like, okay. And I actually then went to a bunch of dairy farmers all through Wisconsin, because I got connected through them, and they actually showed me some of their farms. So actually, a kid from Scotts, Arizona, who doesn't see a lot of dairy, right? But like, actually went on, saw a lot about like actual how we as consumers consume milk and cheese products. So then all of a sudden, I went in, and then I started calling on all these different companies in the whole supply process. And I found out that all these dairy farmers, I'm giving you this example here just for you guys to think, they're in these milking parlors, and they're listening to radio. They're listening to conservative talk radio, sports talk radio, and then when the Brewers are on, the Packers are on, the Badgers are on, they're listening because they can listen to so many dairy reports or whatever. Like, it's something that's live programming, so they can listen to the game. So what happened was, I literally I created multiple different partnerships. From like, I got a milking machine company. I got 2 milking machines that started doing radio ads, and then hospitality. I got a dairy seed company. I got a farm equipment company. I got a pesticide company. But the deal, and this is the funny one, is I got they call it genetics company. And it's pretty much a bull insemination company. So I literally got a bull insemination company to pay me a solid deal. And when everyone's like, how did you get a bull insemination company to spend for hospitality, for logo rights, for radio? Well, I'm like, well, their customers, dairy producers, are listening to Badger games. They're listening to their combines, in the tractor. How can you take targeted messaging to that farmer or dairy producer and go from there? And then also, I created co-brand footballs for all their customers, because what they're doing, because they're trying to sell stuff too, right? They're trying to, the dairy farm, the genetic companies are trying to sell to dairy farmers. And literally, people looked at me like, you sold a bull insemination company for 6 figures a year in that. I'm like, yeah. They're like,
no bull.
Point. But guess what, though? Exactly. Here's the thing, though, right? All of a sudden, though, everyone's like, well, that makes sense. So my point, though, is, if you look at all these areas of where your customers are at, understand your customer, ask questions about your customer, what are their problems for their customer, how are they trying to grow their business, how are they trying to differentiate, and actually then create a solution, I've learned anything's possible. So I followed that format for years. I did that with unions when I was in New Jersey. I did this with storm storm with hurricanes, for the most part. For like storm, oh my God, like for storms, right? Again, coming in, like, how do you prepare? So I mapped out the customer journey. How do you prepare for storm preparedness? For pre-storm, during storm, post-storm, I mapped out that customer journey. And then all of a sudden, I had other reps and myself go and talk to all these different companies. We got a generator company. We got a hurricane attorney company. We got all this other stuff. It's finding what endemic categories are based on your company. And then if you're a regional company, great. But if you're a national company, figure out what your customer is and figure out their problems. And now, honestly, with ChatGPT, I didn't do anything with ChatGPT. I didn't do this with anything. I did this old school. So like when I was getting my PhD and my doctorate, is like that scientific method made so much sense to me in the different instrument of how do you collect data to then create from data to create a solution. And so it was a fun time from there. But that's honestly my long-winded answer to explain the audience of like how detailed and how you can go into by creating revenue if you actually ask the right questions and listen to your potential customers.
So you work with Ord now and everything. And so you guys are doing sponsorships and stuff like that. What defines a high impact modern sports partnership today?
Well, with Order, it's been unbelievable. We're growing in there. We're with the Penguins behind us, the Las Vegas Knights, USA Fencing. The time now, we're about to announce a few more. Chicago Skywave announced. We're doing a bunch of other different deals that we're announcing soon. Remember, from the behavioral point of view of what we're doing is we're now taking all payments and we're now looking at the buyer behavior of their customers for teams. So it's very similar to what I said. It's just now I'm going the fourth area because I can never figure out the fourth area. Because people could say whatever they want doing, you as a consumer, me as a consumer, we're buying stuff either through a screen or on site at a store, or you're getting a beverage or a hot dog. So that's literally what we've been doing in a high impact area. My biggest area for anything at all in sales, when you are selling on the selling center or on the buying center, is very simple. What are your true goals? What is going on? What are your quantitative goals? And what are your qualitative goals that could be measured? And then you work backwards from there. And that's in anything at all. If you are buying or selling any service, which is commerce, is every day, every minute, every second, right? Like how many transactions has happened on Amazon since the last 2 seconds from now, right? So like my biggest thing is, no matter what, to create a true win-win partnership is let's set those expectations and then making sure we're hitting those expectations. Not only me as now being on the buyer side, the buying center, but if you're also selling stuff on the selling center, what are those expectations up front? How do you ask those questions? Make sure you build trust, have transparency. And that I truly believe is a true win-win partnership.
No, agree. And so obviously we met through Vertical Motion, Dr. Dan. And you're known for being a mentorship and a coach along and not even really being, you've helped me out many a times. So what do you look for in young professionals trying to break into your space? Like when you're trying to find someone to help you, like what are those things that you're looking for that could help somebody young watching this podcast that wants to get into what you're in? What are those things?
No, I say this very humbly. And it doesn't matter. Sports is sexy. Let's just call it as it is. But if you want to get into any industry if possible, I look at it as 3 different areas. If you're young, you want to crack in an industry, you've done something like I did in the law firm, and you want to change your industry. It's the same methodology. Get yourself out there, all your socials cleaned up, not only your personal socials, but LinkedIn. Have your value proposition ready. How can you go in and show yourself from a quantitative metric of how you either can add value, aka on the debit side of revenue, or if you're a finance person or accounting or anyone else, operations like yourself, how can you save money? And if you could do that, of adding a quantitative metric to that then also you build your value proposition. And then I go to the 3 things of know you, like you, and gotta have you, right? So one thing is know you is being out there. You got to network physically, digitally, have your elevator pitch ready, be prepared of exactly who that is. That's knowing you. Likability, you got to be likable. If you're not likable, I mean, we're humans. And even though there's all this technology, it's a human-to-human contact. You work with humans every day. They got to like you. But here's the point, though, I'm going to tell everyone here. And if you guys and girls and anyone else listening is got to have you. How do you make yourself where you as a potential employee to an employer of that person's like, I got to have this person? And I'll give you one example of what I really mean by this. A few years ago, there was this woman. She was getting her master's in Mandarin and international business MBA. And she had her undergrad in Mandarin, but she was a Hispanic background. So I'm like asking, I'm like, I have a question I have to ask you. She's like, go ahead. And I'm like, how many languages can you speak? She said, well, I can speak English, I can speak Spanish, I can speak Mandarin, I can speak Cantonese. I'm like, and you can read, write, and talk all those. She's like, yes. I'm like, why Mandarin? She goes, well, that's a place where I love the culture, and I think I can believe I've traveled there, and I think I can go in there. I'm like, and you want to get into sports sponsorships, correct? She's like, yes. So I'm thinking, okay, this person, because of bias, she can be in a room on a call, looks Hispanic, understands everything in Mandarin Cantonese, can understand exactly when all of a sudden, if they're talking in Mandarin Cantonese, she knows what's going on. She can help out a bunch of teams, NBA teams who want to go in the Far East Asian Far East. That's an asset. So I'm like, you're a secret weapon here. So I introduced her a few NBA teams, and now she's been working for an NBA team. And now she works on all international experience. So my point, though, is from learning business analytics, learning language skills, learning skills or your value proposition where people are like, if I don't get this person, I'm missing out. And I think that's the gotta have you part. So that's honestly, I would tell you, not just in sports, but for any industry that you're looking at. I can only speak in sports entertainment because that's just my wheelhouse, because that's what I know. Yeah. But like when it comes to others, I can't speak for that because that's their skill set. And that's just something I just don't know what I don't know. Does that make sense?
How many languages do you speak, Dan?
English, but right now I'm learning Arabic.
Well, that's interesting.
I have an opportunity that I will be in the Middle East to speak Arabic, so I am learning that. I can't really go into it right now. I can't officially announce it, but
no.
I've been learning Arabic, though, for the last 9 months now.
Okay.
I'm not going to speak it, so don't ask.
Don't ask. No, I got you. My Arabic's a little rusty. It's been a while since I've been to the Middle East, so it's crazy. No, but it just reiterates, the constant learning as leaders and growing and, getting opportunities and like, oh, I've got to learn this. I've got to learn that. That's just a testament to you. I remember the first time I met you and they're like, Dr. Dan. And I was like, is this dude a real doc? Oh, wait, it's a doctorate. like, I was like, all right. I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then like the thing that I found appealing about you was that even though you have a doctorate degree and everything, you're very straightforward. You don't talk above your audience or anything like that. Like I think you can handle yourself in a boardroom, with executives, and then you can handle yourself down with the guys that are trying to implement what you're trying to do out there in the real world. And so that is a skill set in itself, knowing those things. So
let me just interject. Do you know who taught me that?
No.
Tom Cox. One of my biggest issues I had was I made assumptions that if I talked, people understood what I was saying. And that was one of my biggest problems as a leader. I was like, I'll explain something and sports like, yeah. And they had, now looking back, they're like, they had no idea, but they didn't know they can ask questions. So what I've learned, no matter what, and this is probably one of the greatest skill sets. And again, I am still just an infant. And again, I appreciate your comment, but I have to learn when I walk in, when I'm talking to the owner, board members, executives, managers, individual contributors, interns, anyone else, I always have to make sure that I have to have level set communication and making sure that I can really be clear and then be like, look, if you don't understand, that's cool. Please ask questions to make sure we have level set communication. And that's a skill set through vertical motion. I think Tom's made me so much of a better communicator and how I can take my message to multiple different people depending on who they are. But thank you for saying that though, because that's a skill that I'm still improving on.
We're all so. Is that the only thing that led you to how did you find Tom and vertical motion? Like everybody has these unique stories where this guy just creeped into your cell phone, right? or Instagram. We're like, what is your journey with that?
So I knew I had to evolve. And you kind of mentioned this earlier about a few minutes ago, is like, I have a growth mindset. Like right now, just example, I'm learning CPR and first aid. Like that's my next little side project I'm doing. Like I am always evolving. I am constantly learning. I knew at a point when I was in New Orleans, I'm like, I needed something else. I needed to I needed something. I didn't know what it was. So in the search process, Tom was the 13th coach I interviewed. A lot of the other coaches, I wasn't buying. They were selling me on this. I'm like, look, I'm here. I want to become more executive. I want to learn more. Like, I don't know what that path is because I don't know what I don't know. That's something I think that's more of a characteristic of me is I don't know. And I'm cool to say that. And I can walk in like, I have no idea what you're saying. Can you explain to me like I'm a fifth grader? I have no problem saying that. And then all of a sudden, it's a humbling experience. When I met Tom, I got served on an Instagram ad, and I was the 7th person in his whole program. He's now, I think, almost at 200, give or take at this time. And I bought him on the spot. I looked at his story, what happened. He's authentic. He's empathetic. He's audacious. I think that fits me. And I would tell you, though, in my opinion, it was a very, very good fit. And I bought right there on the spot. I was 7th client. Where others, I'm just like, no, I'm not buying. You're selling. And I bought there, and I've been almost in for over 2 years now, and it's been great. He knows that if I need something, like I don't bother him because I keep very productive. But anytime I need anything, he's always there for me, or anyone else on his team are. And it's been a good experience. I'm very happy for him and his growth. And I consider him not only my coach, but I also consider him my friend.
Oh, that's awesome. I guess like it was funny because he was like, I always give everybody an opportunity, and I'll give you one later to like call someone out. And like I didn't expect him to call you out. That was not set up by me. So it was very interesting that he also holds you in very, very high regard.
Yeah, no, Tom's been pushing me to do this podcast stuff, and I'm like, nope, not ready yet. I'm not ready. I'm not ready. And now look at you. You're my first one. So
yeah, I know. So you've blended academics in your professional life. Do you recommend, necessarily everybody getting a doctorate or a master's degree? Like what's the risk reward, I guess, of it all?
Okay, yeah. No, let me reverse my question here. Let me reverse the answer. It depends. I'll tell you what I mean by this. Excuse me. I need to get another drink. Sorry, 1 second.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And so it depends. This is how I'm going to say this to everyone. There are people in the camp that are like, you don't need a certification. You don't need this. You can go on YouTube. You can go on masterclass. You can go on whatever. Plug anything at all to find actual knowledge. Because now we are actually a knowledge-based society where it's most access ever to knowledge. You just got to have the will and the grit and learn it and go deep into it. And that's what I do now in certain things. But like I'm going through American Red Cross to learn and get my certification in first aid. I'm going through to learn CPR. I like certifications because it establishes third party, creates quality. Now, why is this important though? In today's world, to learn skills in your current job, you can do that. I believe in always third party accreditation. I really do. Now, I'm not saying go get your MBA. I didn't say that. I said though, but if you want to learn business intelligence, I would learn to get certified to do business intelligence and then create a project that you created through business intelligence to do that, or whatever that may be. Yeah. If you want to get certified in being an accountant, go get your certifications. Go get them. Because then all of a sudden, like, again, I'm lucky. I'm only 1.8% of the population that has a terminal degree in the highest field that I can get. I did that because I wanted to get that certification because I thought it would lead to other opportunities. That was my path. And so far, it's been very rewarding for me. There's been opportunities I cannot tell you right now that I've shared with Tom, my wife, and my other personal board of trustees. And so it just depends on your goals. I am always going to go third-party accreditation because I will always do that. I believe that anything at all that's accredited by a top institution, that's good, but it's got to be the right skill set. But again, I'm talking on both sides of my mouth. You still can learn that stuff. Because again, in the early 2000s, you got to think about this though. The 2000s, when I was growing up, you didn't have all that access to YouTube. Was just like goofy cat videos or whatever, right? Like whatever, but like, so you didn't have that. So now, because of everything, like you can now access knowledge. And I think that's a way where like you could start your own business without getting a MBA. Like that's what I'm trying to tell you. So like but it's going to be trials and tribulations. You got to be consistent. You got to learn from your mistakes, but you can access that knowledge or get coaches to help you scale your business. It just depends on what your end goal is of what you want to do. Do you want to be in the C-suite of a major company, Fortune 1000 company, a regional company? Do you want to run your own business? Do you want to do whatever? It's up to you. So you listen, everyone listen on podcasts, up to you what you want to do. But I would tell you, no matter what, the access to knowledge is out there.
No. So what does life look like for Dr. Dan Kaufmann when it's not the game day chaos and everything? How do you reset as a person for all the chaos that goes on in your life?
So from Tom, who analyzed me through all these tests we did, I'm a very unique personality where I have a very, very what we call high battery. I could take on a lot more than others. I can do a lot more than others. You know, people are like, Dan, you're a machine. How do you make time for everything? How do you do this? Because I have a very high battery because I need engagement. But I have to recharge that battery. And when I do that, I'm around my wife, we're around our dogs. We like to go walk them. We like to go out with them. And then I travel with my wife. I go to sporting events. And honestly, like last night, my wife and I watched a movie and had dinner, and it was amazing at the house. So my life's fun. I get to travel a lot. I get to be around a lot of people. I'm doing a lot of cool things. But again, always have time for your family, your loved ones, and others. I think that's been a major factor in my life where before it was always work, 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 work. And it's always now about family. And it's about your friends. It's about your loved ones. So that's always what I'm trying to put more time in because that's more important for me, at least.
All right. No, that makes sense. I'm trying to process and get there too. So we're going to go into the rapid fire questions part of the podcast. So
let's go.
Give us your blunt answer with all this. All right. So my guest asked, favorite pitch that ever landed.
This one was cool. This one helped me get me into this. This was like the first major deal that everyone's like, oh wow, is I actually did the first biometrics deal with Identigo and TSA PreCheck when I was with the Jets. And I actually mapped out the biometrics of how it could help out get into, at that time, the Jets with MetLife Stadium, and how can you leverage customers who are pre-checked to get people faster into the stadium. And it was probably one of my, the gentleman who I worked with, I'm still friends today with. He's a good friend of mine still today. And that deal was probably 7-8 years ago. And like, it's still like, that was a fun before biometrics is now like Intuit Dome and everything we're doing. And so I saw the future of biometrics of what it can do. And again, I'll tell you this right now, non-political, but I'll say this though, people like it, they don't like it. I think though, it depends on your choice. It works. It's safe. It knows who you are. And it's convenience if you ever want to go through anything else faster. I'm TSA PreCheck, Clear Plus. I'm everything. So that's me and my own personal opinion podcast. Okay.
No, I got you. I agree. I have all those too because it's just so much more convenient.
Yeah. Global entry, the whole thing.
I got you. A tough deal that taught you something.
Sometimes I had a deal probably lasted 14 months. It took, and their deals are longer because the more enterprise, bigger deals, but just being like, send timelines, send expectations is what I learned from that because they kept extending the goalposts. I'll use a sports term. And my goal now I learned from that was, okay, what's the actual time in on this? Who are the decision makers in this process? What is the decision makers in this process? Are we solving a problem? If those don't hit, that means then whatever the monetary is to solve the problem isn't happening because if we're not solving the problem, not talking to the right people, not setting time and expectations, that's not going to help on the selling center. And on the buying center, to say, be very transparent. Hey, this solution's not really fitting it. We're looking at other opportunities. Can you do this? And then come back and try to fit the solution. So that would be my area. I think I had the lesson learned there.
Most memorable game day experience.
All right. So this one was fun. I'll tell you this, the evolution of life, right? When I got into sports in Pensacola, I'm like, I want to be in the NFL. I love football. I'm like, okay, I want to get there in 5 years. I got there in a year and a half. And I will never forget in Tampa Bay, it was in December. I walked on my first game in Tampa Bay. I'm like, I'm in my 20s. And I'm like, I made it. And I'm like, and now I'm like, I just wasn't even, I'll put this in a sporting term. I wasn't even getting warmed up. I wasn't even driving to the game yet. Like, and now where I'm at, but like, I thought I made it. But the greatest thing of my career, though, is I have been to multiple World Series, multiple Super Bowls, multiple NBA finals. I've not been in a Stanley Cup final yet. I've been pretty much almost everything but a Stanley Cup final, Masters, a World Cup, and Olympics. And NCAA football championship. I think everything else I've seen in my career. And it's been fun. It's just been fun. I think now being at Order, I'm seeing more new places. Like, I went to Orlando City game. Never been to Orlando City yet. I thought that was fun. I was at my first WNBA game with the Chicago Sky, partner of Order. I was at my first WNBA game. That was a great experience. Absolutely sold out. Midday game on a Saturday, packed. Everyone's seen Angel Reese. She was announcing her new shoe. She was on 2K26. So it was cool. So there's always new things to see. I think I'm excited to see, F1 race. I haven't seen F1 race, but I want to see more. I think so, but I've seen some really cool things in my career, in my life so far that I've been very fortunate for, and I think I'm thankful.
That's cool. Best piece of advice you ever received?
If you do this, I cannot stress this part of this whole podcast. If you do this, you are 95% ahead of everyone else. It is a very simple concept. Always be prepared and do your research. If you're not, you're going to be like everyone else. I cannot illustrate any time at all, any meeting, every phone call, any interaction before I talk to anyone, internally, externally, anyone. I am always prepared, and I always have 3 bullet points ready that I need to discuss. And I always say hey, again, if it's a business meeting, look, hey, and blah, blah, blah. I can do research about their team, company, et cetera, et cetera. Here are my 3 things I want to accomplish with this call. Are we aligned? If you are prepared and do your research, and I think the problem is not a lot of people do this. And I'm seeing it. And I'm seeing it now on the buying side of sellers going to me. They've done different research of a different company. People are like, I had an agency go to me. This is literally what happened. The agency who wants to sell to us goes, I know people in MetLife, the New York Giants, and New York Jets. And I'm like, I worked for the Jets for 7 years. I think I know those people. That is a pure example of what I'm talking about. So I gave you a theory. I gave you applicable information. So that was what I would share for anyone on this podcast is always be prepared.
Really dropped some good nuggets on this whole thing, Dan. And I thank you for finally coming on the podcast. I know that it wasn't you, it was me. So, but what are your words of wisdom to leave my followers that could help them out?
Keep challenging yourself. Don't always push yourself. I always do. Always grow. You are always can learn and keep learning. And you are not the smartest person in the room. Learn from others. No, people are like, they come to me. I'm like, I don't know. And if I don't know, I say I don't know, but I'm like, I'll find a way or I'll find out. But always keep learning, learn how to accept knowledge, learn how to discern knowledge from people, learn new skills, learn and keep. And there's so much opportunity now for free where you can learn new skills or knowledge or everything. Instead of going on social media, maybe you see a couple videos on whatever, and then maybe you go social media. But then just do it consistent. And that's the second part I'm going to, consistency. I think people are always like, I'm going to do this. Great. It ain't going to happen overnight. It's got to be consistent, discipline, and that you are going to fail. My book I'm going to write after this one is How I Failed 1,000 Times. And it's going to be the most hilarious stories. And it's going to be, it is, I already have a full notebook of all the stories I'm going to talk about my failures. But always be consistent, have discipline. It's not going to happen overnight. And if the successful people keep going. And that is again, you've gone to me like, Dan, you've done so much. I've done some cool things, but I'm still getting warmed up. I'm still getting warmed up. That's my mentality.
So now that you dropped this nugget in my ear that you are writing a book, give us a nugget out of the book of something that you failed at.
I thought I was the smartest person in the room when I was younger. No. I thought I knew everything. And now the more I get older, the more knowledge I get, the more interactions I get, the less I know.
Wisdom is a awesome tool, and that's why I do this is, so people can learn from other people, I feel that that's the best medicine for any leader, is just learning from other people. And like you said, you're not the smartest guy in the room. I don't think any of us are.
Woman,
There's always someone
or
smart.
any person, you're not the smartest person in the room. You're not. I challenge everyone when they see this. Now I kind of inserted that bias in. You're going to be at your workplace. Look and see who acts like they're the smartest person, and look who does not act like they're the smartest person, and then look at their leadership style.
No, I agree. That's helpful.
Anything else, my good friend?
I don't think there is. You've dropped a lot of knowledge here today. So yeah, man. I thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. I still
And
got my
I
Wisconsin Badger. I still got my Wisconsin Badger circa 2010 concessionaire cup that I drink out of. So
yeah, all right, brother. Thank you. And anytime you want to come back on, just hit me up. All right. Have fun on your tour.
I would love to do that anytime. Thank you, sir.
All right. Have a good day. Dr. Dan, this conversation was a master's class on strategic thinking, partnership alignment, and real world leadership. From unlocking new revenue in agriculture and labor industry to leading record breaking media and jersey patch deals, your career proves that innovation happens when you ask better questions and actually listen to the answers. What I took away from today is this: great partnerships don't come from a flashy decks or a logo placement. They come from trust, timing, and solving real business problems with intention. To our listeners, whether you're the buyer or the seller, this is your playbook. Think beyond inventory, speak your partner's language, and lead with outcomes, not assumptions. Dan, thank you for your wisdom, for reminding us all that leadership isn't about spotlight. It's about alignment, execution, and impact. Until next time, cheers. Dan, thank you again. This was absolutely gold.